how did you feel when you were first diagnosed?
I think a lot of it was kind of a little bit of shock, a little bit of... It wasn't a surprise in the sense of something had been going on for the last 2 years. And I think deep down after the first year, we suspected it was epilepsy. There was a brief moment where they actually went, oh, actually, we think it's early menopause. And I was actually doing a little dance going, please say it's early menopause, please, it means I can drive. But it was because they were giving me too much progesterone and stuff to try and help. They said that progesterone actually helps with the seizures, as in to try and calm them down. So they were giving me too much, which was then causing me to have night sweats, just like menopause. So I was sort of rooting for that for a brief moment, and then they went, no, it's definitely epilepsy. Because the first couple of scans, especially the first EEG, they couldn't find anything. So that proves it was hardly there. And it's developed and got worse as it's gone on. But I've got to admit, to start with, I thought, okay, no problem. They'll give me the tablets and it'll stabilise it. Sorted. You know, I've heard about Epilepsy. I've heard about these medications they give you and I'll be sorted, no problem. I didn't think 5 years down the line I wouldn't be stable still. And I wouldn't have driven for 4 years. And it's now that hits me a lot more. I had a lot of optimism at the start, and it's more that it as it goes on, you try and be so positive, you try and be so sure and determined. But when it comes to anything with the brain, the neurologists are doing a fantastic job, but they are trying, but it's very difficult. They don't know what, because with epilepsy, every single case is individual. You know, I'm different to you, I think, and I'm different to another epileptic. And I know so many epileptics who have stabilised, and then I know ones like you and me and others who aren't. And it's like, well, why have they and why haven't we? Yeah. So that's the hard thing now. But to start with, I just sort of went, okay, I've got epilepsy. It's not particularly brilliant, but we'll deal with it. And that attitude will stay with me, because in my mind, if I give in and let it win, then I'm just giving in to the condition. And it's not a nice condition. It's something that really can isolate you, can make you feel so low, and it causes depression as well. And the problem is the medication they give you causes depression. So you've got to fight that too. But, you know, it's one of those where we're all there for each other, and we're trying to help and support each other and fight it as best as we can. Yeah,
definitely. And have you always been on the same medication, or have you changed?
This is why the neurologist recently said to me that she's pretty sure I won't stabilise. I've tried pretty much every medication. I think there's 2 left. One she doesn't even want to give me because it's actually for people who have full seizures, not for people who have partials. So I think she believes it wouldn't work. And there's a lot of side effects with it that I think she thinks it just wouldn't be worth it, because that's the other thing we have to weigh up is those tablets might work for you, but the side effects might be too much as well. There's one other tablet where she said if we do try a tablet change, that's the last one. And she sort of went, it's an oldie, as in it's from the 50s. Oldie but a goodie. But since then I've tried, about 10, I think, 10 different types of tablets. What they do is they keep you on one core one and then introduce backup secondary ones and even thirds. You know, I'm on a combination of 3 different types of epilepsy medication right now, and it's not working. Simple as that. It's helping, but I deal with the side effects like everybody else, and sadly it just doesn't seem to work for me. And I'm not the only one. There's a good chunk of us out there now.
Yeah, definitely. So how do you feel about the possibility of having brain surgery?
It sounds crazy, but I want it. And a lot of people have said to me, oh my God, brain surgery. I said, but if you saw what I had to deal with day to day, every day, I literally wake up going, yes, I got through the night. And then I spend the day going, I got through the night, I hope I don't have one today, please don't have one today. And it's not nice, you know, I would rather go for the brain surgery and deal with the effects of that and the possibility and the chance of stability or close to stability. just to have even smaller seizures or less of them. I mean, if they're looking at the brain surgery for me because they've said because I'm quite young. I mean, obviously you take quite a long time to recover. You've got to do, so it's not something they offer to people who are older, but they offer it to the younger people, as long as it's suitable for you, and they won't touch you unless they are sure that you're going to benefit from it. If that isn't an option, then my final option is something called a vagus nerve stimulator, pacemaker for the brain. And it won't stop the seizures, but it might help make them less horrid and make them a bit more tolerable and just easier to deal with. I know brain surgery can scare people like crazy, but I've got a wonderful group of friends, I've got a wonderful family who support me, and I know that they'll be scared too for me, but deep down, I think in the end it's got to be worth it. And like I said, they wouldn't go near you unless they were really sure. So, yeah.
At the moment, how many seizures are you having?
I've got a bit of a cough cold right now, so I'm averaging at one every other night, minimum. Sometimes I go through clusters. Recently I ended up in the hospital because I had a cluster of seizures, as in I had about 20 in about 3 to 4 days, which is very unusual for me. Normally, as long as I'm not ill and everything's sort of ticking over, I average at about 2 a week. That I can tolerate. It's not ideal, but if I could just have one a month even, I'd live with that. But it takes, because it drains you so much and makes you feel nauseous and makes you feel so rough, it takes me about 2 days before I start to feel back to normal again. You're still a bit on edge the first day and a bit wary, and right now that's the problem, is I get sort of a day and then I have another one, then I get a day, then I have another one, so I'm not quite getting out of it, and it's just sort of ticking over, unfortunately, like that. But that happens in winter time when you get a bug. So.
And how does it affect your working life?
Unfortunately, it does affect it quite a lot. As I say, I was working full-time, completely independent, secondary school teacher. I drove to work every day, all that sort of stuff. And the seizures started. I managed to keep working as a teacher for 3.5 years, which I was quite pleased about. But it got to a point where my seizures then started to develop to the ones I have now, where I lose my awareness and I am not in control anymore. And to have me in charge of a classroom on my own was considered to be a health and safety risk. That was the problem. And I went off on long-term sick, and sadly I never went back to it at that point. So I was off work for 1.5 years because my seizures just happened. At that time, I was on a different combo of meds, and I was having seizures all through the day, but they weren't whacking me out as much, actually. They weren't taking it out of me as much, but I was having more of them. And basically then what's happened now is I went through a brief period where we thought we'd actually found a tablet that worked for me. I got 4.5 months of stability, and the doctors now say to me they think it was a honeymoon period with the tablet. It worked for that short period, but for me it felt like forever, because I hadn't had anything like that length I hadn't since first being diagnosed. So basically I then returned to work, but I thought I'll take it easy, I'll be part-time, and I ended up working as a doctor's receptionist, actually, because I thought if there's one place you're going to have a seizure, that's probably the best place. And then I did that for 1 year, but my seizures came back. The medication stopped working. The job was really supportive, and they did their best to work around me, and I did have a couple of seizures at work, but most of the time, again, it did stay at night. It was just, I couldn't guarantee. And then since then, I've actually ended up working at a very good school who they've hired me as a teaching assistant, which means that I've gone from earning what was 25 grand a year as a teacher to 10 grand a year. That's how the epilepsy's affected me financially. But they're also using me just for a little bit of teaching here and there, because again, so far in the daytime I've been okay at work, and also we have an agreement that they will support me in class, as in I have an adult there present. So if anything did happen, again, it wouldn't, the children know. I outed myself and said, look, I have epilepsy, but don't worry, I won't collapse. This is what would happen. And I explained it to them. And I said, the other teacher's here just in case anything could happen. And if it did, I would get out of the way. The teacher would look after you. And we have a set-up plan, basically. So they're using me a little bit for part-time teaching. Otherwise, I support in the classroom. And if I felt anything coming, I'd make the teacher aware and then I would be out. And then a nurse or someone would come and look after me. So the school have been very supportive of me in that sense and allowed me to work. But I've had to work part-time. I've had to work a job that it's not in any way below me, because being a teaching assistant is very difficult, but I'm overqualified for it. And it's because of my health condition. And that's what frustrates me a little bit. But, fingers crossed again, you never know what can happen in the future. And I never expected to end up back in schools. So I'm pleased about that, if nothing else. And as I say, they've been really supportive.
Have you thought about the future at all? What are your thoughts on having children?
I'll be honest, I've been someone who was never 100% sure if I wanted children anyway. But the epilepsy for me has kind of put the nail in the coffin. I mean, there are a lot of women out there who have done it, and absolute kudos to them. And you know, I'm so impressed with them. And it's not impossible, but for me, it's one of those where I would rather know that I'm going to be okay and well and healthy than physically go through trying to have a child. Because especially in my case, I'm not exactly stable as it is. My medication, because a lot of the medications are not child friendly, as in they will cause fetal malformation, they cause all sorts of problems. So the thing is, you then have to come off the medication that's kind of keeping you stable to go back onto one that I know doesn't work for me. And I'm then going to have 9 months of trying to, going through all the things a woman goes through with pregnancy and childbirth, and then as well as an increase in seizures, an increase in all the side effects, all that sort of stuff again. And I couldn't do it. I've just made that decision, and I'm very fortunate my partner supports me on that, and he's gone, no, I'd rather you be well. And we've agreed that, if we wanted to, we might adopt in the future. But also right now, we're pretty sure that we wouldn't be very good candidates for adoption because of my health. They would say, if I was the only adult in the house, say for example, my partner was away visiting somebody, and I have a seizure overnight, I'm not able, and with it, to look after a child. So that might be another issue. But like I said, it's all things that we're looking at, and we'll deal with them as it comes. And like I said, hopefully things will start to improve again, and maybe, I don't think I'd change my mind about having a child, because if the medication does work or whatever, then I'd probably just stick with my thought on that one. But otherwise, I absolutely take my hat off to any woman who has a baby anyway, especially women who are pregnant, because it must be that much harder for them. So kudos to them.